welcome to Editorial, a live broadcast from Canada. I am Sandra Asante. Today we're looking at Sudan's tough talk with Ethiopia over the River Nile, so don't go anywhere, I'll be back shortly. You're welcome back. So Sudan is caught in the middle of a decade-long row between Ethiopia and Egypt over the dam Ethiopia is building on the River Nile, and in recent months it has undergone a major shift in attitude, as Zainab Mohammed Salih reported from Khartoum. When discussing the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, Sudan's rhetoric has moved from being broadly welcoming to being suspicious and belligerent. This change in large part reflects the increasing influence of the military in the transitional government that is supposed to pave the way to a democratic system after overthrow of a long-serving leader Omar al-Bashir. The diplomatic temperature has increased as Ethiopia's rainy season approaches, and the reservoirs behind the dam will fill up for a second year without any agreement on how it should be done. Both Ethiopia and Egypt have spoken about the project in existential terms. Ethiopia says the JAD is vital for its development as it could bring power to 60% of the population. Egypt says it threatens the flow of the Nile, which sustains life there. Sudan, which sits on the river between the two countries, has now taken to issuing that warning itself. An advisor to the head of the Sudan Sovereign Council, Lieutenant General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, spoke of a water war that could be more horrible than one imagined unless the international community helped find a solution. Shifting the balance of power every 1/14th month, and very different noises were coming from the capital, Khartoum. In February 2020, Water Resources Minister Yasser Abbas talked about how the dam, Africa's biggest hydroelectric plant, would benefit Sudan. While acknowledging a small number of issues to be ironed out, he said that the JED would make flow of the Nile more predictable and could introduce a third farming season. The dam could also mean cheaper and more reliable electricity for Sudan, which recently suffered a power cut for 12 hours a day. But earlier this month, following the failed African Union blockade between Egypt, Ethiopia, and Sudan in Kinshasa. After Abbas told journalists that it would threaten national security if Ethiopia filled the dam without solving outstanding issues, Sudan wants Ethiopia to commit to a legally binding agreement rather than guidelines on the amount of water retained and the timetable for filling the reservoirs. It also wants clarity on how dispute will be resolved in future. Mr. Abbas told the BBC that Ethiopia was making demand about using the water for agriculture in an effort to complicate the negotiation. Without an agreement, the JED is really a threat to peoples downstream, both the environment and the livelihoods of people, he added. He urged that Sudan would suffer more than Egypt if failing the dam reduced the amount of water flowing into Sudan, as Egypt has a large reserve of water sitting behind its own as one dam. So we'll now look at the rising stake through Ethiopia. This has all been known for a very long time. What has changed is a shift in who holds balance of the power between military and civilians in the past Bashir transitional administration. Any potential threat to national security now throws other consideration. In addition, growing tension between Sudan and Ethiopia over a border dispute in an area known as Al-Fashaga has made Sudan less inclined to favor Ethiopia. We now look at why Ethiopia has fallen out with Sudan. The exact boundary in the area between the two countries has not been demarcated, and despite colonial era treaties suggesting that Al-Fashaga was part of Sudan, Ethiopians had been living there and paying taxes to the Ethiopian authorities. In 2008, a compromise was reached in which Ethiopia acknowledged it was part of Sudan, but Ethiopians continue to live there. Sudan, however, took advantage of Ethiopia being distracted by the conflict in Tigray last year and moved troops into Al-Fashaga. The government launched a big campaign to get people to support military actions in the area. This included taking influential people to the border and pop stars in military uniforms performing in Khartoum. In the north of Sudan, the Air Forces has been carrying out joint training operations with Egypt. For its part, Ethiopia continues to try and reassure Sudan that the jihad will not damage the country. On Sunday, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed tweeted that Ethiopia has no intention of causing harm to the countries downstream, adding that last year's failing undoubtedly prevented severe flooding in neighboring Sudan. He also talked about sharing information about what is happening ahead of this year's rainy season. This is very clear that they are trying to raise the stake to Ethiopia. Retired Brigadier Mahmoud Galanda told the BBC. These words, though, may not be enough to placate Sudan or Egypt as a push for further negotiation continues. Egypt's Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry is currently on a tour of the continent to win allies in Egypt's bid to find legal solutions on the operations and failing of the dam in a manner that takes into consideration the interests of the three countries. A statement for the Egyptian government said. Sudan's Gen Burhan had a similar message in a TV interview last week. As the diplomatic pressure increases, time is inevitably taken, and once the rain begins later this year, the reservoir could fill up whether there is an agreement or not. It's been a pleasure bringing you the editorials. This is where I draw the curtains. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Sandra Asante.